Okay.
And we are recording. And so this workshop is the intro to Canvas 1, and it really is designed to kind of give you an overview of Canvas, what some of the most frequently used tools are in Canvas, and kind of to walk through the 10 steps we recommend you follow when you're starting to work in Canvas and set up courses in Canvas. So we're going to talk about some of the things that you should do at the start of each semester to make sure your user profile and settings are what you want them to be, and then just what steps you should follow as you're building a Canvas course site to support a class, whether that's a face-to-face course that you teach in person with students and you just want to use Canvas to support that class, whether it's a hybrid course where you need students to actually submit work and do some administrative things in Canvas half the time, or if you're planning at some point to teach a completely online course. So I am going to demo most of the time, and I'm sorry, but I did not introduce myself. I know Pauline, but I don't know the other person who has joined us. I'm Quayle Snowden, and I'm one of these instructional designers in the TLC. I'm joined today with Dayul Lee, who is also an instructional designer in the TLC, and we are kind of the support for Canvas. So we do the Canvas training. We will jump in and answer questions that come into the help desk, any questions that you have about using Canvas and other instructional technology. We're kind of your point for help in the TLC here at Rider for that. I am going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. And I'm going to head, you should be seeing Canvas now. Is everybody seeing my Canvas site?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm just waiting for my dashboard to load, just to talk a little bit about what we see kind of when we first access Canvas. So Canvas is our learning management system. It's a fancy title to say it's some software that you could use to support your course with online resources and tools. So if you wanted to simply post a syllabus and use the announcements tool to communicate quickly with students, you could do that. If you also wanted to allow students to submit assignments online, maybe post grades so that they're able to see where they are at any point in time online without having to reach out to you, you can do that as well. Canvas has a ton of tools and you are free to use as many of them as you wish, or as few of them as you wish. One of the first things we recommend that everybody does when they access Canvas for the very first time is to make sure you update your profile or modify your settings. So this is before you get into any courses whatsoever. When you're logged into Canvas, you want to look for the very first button that you will see on the left-hand side of your screen where you'll see your image appearing, and that's the account options. When you click account, a little pop-out menu will appear for you, and you'll see some options located in that list. So the first one we're going to talk about is profile. We're also going to talk about settings, and then the third one that we'll talk about is notifications. So your profile and your user settings lets you control the personal information that's displayed for you in Canvas. And there are certain things that you're able to update, like your preferred contact methods, any personal links you want to share, personal information you want to post. And user settings allows you to change things like your default email address, language. We have a lot of our foreign language instructors will change the interface to the language that they're teaching. So it gives a more immersive experience for students. And so Canvas does allow you to do that. So to start, I'm going to head to my profile. The image that is displayed for you comes automatically from the system and banner. It's taken usually from the photos that you took with public safety for your ID. For some faculty, it may be a photo that you took with the photographer Pete board. So this is one thing that we cannot update in Canvas. In order to get that updated, it requires a new photo with public safety, and it triggers from that end, not from the Canvas side. But anything else that's listed on this page, you are able to update and change yourself. So if you wanted to provide contact information, you could. If you wanted to provide a biography, that users would be able to see if you have links like to a website, your LinkedIn profile, anything that you want to post here, you are able to do that. And you do that by looking for the button with the 3 dots in the top right corner. And when you click those dots, you have the ability to edit your profile. And so once I click edit profile, I am now brought to the screen where I can make changes to the information that is available for me on this page. Any changes I make, I simply click Save Profile, and it updates automatically. Okay, so that's our profile. The next area we recommend you take a look at would be your settings. And when I click Settings, it takes us into the settings screen. Again, there are some things we cannot change, like our full name. They are pulling the full legal name from Banner. So again, if something is listed here incorrectly, we have to correct it in Banner, and then that will translate down to Canvas. But there are things that we can change here. We can change the pronouns that are listed for us. We can change the default system language that's on record for us. We can also change the time zone that's listed. So any of these items that you see on this screen are able to be updated except for that full name that is on display for you in Canvas. You want to look for the Edit Settings button. And when you click Edit Settings, anything that you were able to change now has a drop-down menu that you can choose from. So here's the ability to change from the 3 preset pronouns that are in the system, or you can choose none to be displayed. Here's the languages you can choose from for the Canvas system. And here are the time zones that you're able to choose from. Again, anytime you make changes here, simply make sure you update your settings to save them. Cancel will exit out of that without making changes. The far right side of your screen are your ways to contact. So by default, everybody's rider email address is filled in here. That's for faculty, that's for staff, that's for student. Every user who is added to Canvas, their rider email address gets added as the default way to contact them. And the reason that Canvas is contacting you is via notification. So if you're a student and your instructor has changed the due date on an assignment, or has posted an announcement, or has put a calendar entry in the calendar, Canvas is going to communicate that information to you via a notification. So by default, those notifications will be sent to the rider email address, but you do have the ability to add additional email addresses here if you want to use a different email address for those notifications. Kind of a heads up, if you turn notifications on and you select kind of the more frequent notification schedule, you will get spammed with a lot of email from Canvas, especially if you have courses that are active that are triggering those notifications frequently. So some users choose to put a different email address here to kind of filter that, so it's not all going to the rider email address. So if you'd like to enter a different email address or a different way to contact, you simply use the Add Email Address link. And when you click that link, you simply enter the email address you wish to share with Canvas, and then you click Register. It will trigger an email sent to that address, and you will have to confirm that it is an active email account. And once you do that, it gets added to your ways to contact. There are other contact methods. You'll notice that you can enter a phone number to have text notifications. I would that would drive me bananas, in all honesty, to get text messages from Canvas. But there are some users who might prefer that option, over the email option, especially students who kind of want to have that instant notification about changes to due dates or announcements that might be posted by an instructor. Any questions about any of these settings or the ways to contact? Okay, so the last thing we're going to look at in this account area is notifications. So we just mentioned that Canvas needs an email address because it needs to be able to communicate with you. And what it's communicating are these notifications. So every user has the ability to go into your notifications area and tell Canvas, number one, where the notification should be sent. So should they be going to your Rider email account, or should they be going to a secondary email address that you may have provided? And then you need to tell Canvas how often you want to be notified. So you'll notice that daily notifications are delivered about 6 p.m. So if you're getting those notifications on a daily basis, that email is going to come to you around 6 p.m. every evening. And weekly notifications are delivered on Saturdays between 2 and 4 a.m. So that would be the approximate delivery time for those notifications. But though you'll notice there's a list of different activities, due dates, course content, announcements. And for each of those activities, under the email address, you have the ability to set the frequency. So for example, if I click on the icon for due date, I can choose to be notified immediately. I can choose a daily summary. I can choose a weekly summary, or I can turn notifications completely off. I generally choose daily summary for the notifications that I want, so that I'm not getting emails all day long from Canvas about updates and changes here. For instructors, kind of the important ones are announcements. So if you're posting announcements and you're allowing students to respond to those announcements and ask questions, you do want to turn notifications on for that, so that you are aware that there's a question that requires your response. If you are using Canvas to allow students to submit assignments, you want to turn your notifications on for submissions, so that you are aware that there's a new submission waiting for you for review. Submission comments, students have the ability to ask questions or post comments on work that has been submitted in Canvas. So again, I recommend turning notifications on for submission comments if you're an instructor. The rest of these notifications kind of depend on if you're choosing to use the tool. So if you're choosing to use the discussions tool in Canvas in your course, and discussions allows you to do those threaded asynchronous conversations, so to speak. So if you're teaching a hybrid class, maybe they're doing a discussion instead of meeting in person one week. If you are planning to use that tool, I do recommend that you just select a notification option for discussions. And conversations is the email tool that is kind of internal to Canvas. Some instructors use it, others do not. You know, it really depends on if you're using conversations or inbox to communicate with students. If you are, you want to set a notification option for conversations. Questions about any of that? None of this is set in stone, and I should have said, if you turn on daily for due date and it becomes overwhelming, at any point in time, you can always come in and make the change to set that to weekly or turn it off completely. So once you've set this at this account level, it applies to all of your courses. But what you have the ability to do, which is new and which is nice, is you can also do this individually at the course level. So excuse me, you may be teaching a course where you need those sort of notifications immediately and daily and right away, but you might also have a course that maybe is more of a resource course and you don't need to be announced every minute of these changes. Maybe you just get a weekly summary, so you can customize. So if you need to set different levels of notifications for different courses, excuse me, you have the ability to do that by, instead of setting it here at the account, you can go to an individual course and customize the settings just for that course, which is kind of nice. In the past, what you set was automatically applied to every course, but now we have the ability to kind of customize at the individual course level. This is something that students can do as well. So if you are posting announcements or you're posting grades and students are saying, I didn't get that, I didn't know, I didn't see, you might want to suggest that they go in and check and make sure they have not turned their notifications off. Excuse me, other questions?
I do have a question, but it's not about the settings, the profile or the other thing.
Okay.
I'm interested in the e-portfolio.
Okay, that I'll hold to the end. We don't use it very frequently here.
Okay,
There have been some limitations, and in the past, we've kind of recommended going another route, like using Google Docs instead, but we can talk about it at the end.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions about these options in this account area? Okay, so I'm going to head back to my dashboard. I'll just talk a little bit about how the dashboard is organized. So when you're working in Canvas, your dashboard is going to kind of contain two sections. The top half are going to be the courses that are published, which means students who are enrolled in those classes actually have access to them and can see them. And then you'll have possibly a section of unpublished courses. That would be the courses that are coming up maybe next semester that have already been added to Banner and have already appeared in Canvas, but you haven't added content to it yet. You haven't published it to make it available to students yet. Courses can be published very quickly from the dashboard. So if you've been working in a course and you're ready for it to go live, you simply have to click that publish button that you see in the top left corner of the course card. Once that course is published, it becomes automatically available to students and is listed on their individual Canvas dashboards. If you ever get questions from students at the start of the semester and they're saying, I can't see your course at all, the first thing you want to check is to make sure you've published that course and it appears in the published section at the top of the page. All users, instructors included, will have a to-do list that appears on the right-hand side of the screen, especially if you're using the assignments tool to allow students to submit work. Students will have a to-do list as well. As you're building your course and creating assignments and putting in due dates, it triggers these kind of notifications to appear in the to-do list for students. So they have a running list of what's coming up, what they need to do, what needs to be turned in. If there is something that requires grading or has been recently graded, there's also a recent feedback area where they can see that information really quickly, all from this dashboard without having to go into an individual course. I'm going to head into a course now. And so when you first enter a Canvas course, it's going to be blank like this one, right? There's been no content added. There's nothing here. One of the things that we recommend is if you're teaching a course that you teach every semester, instead of reinventing the wheel and rebuilding from scratch every year, you can always copy content from one Canvas course to another. So in order to do that, when you log into your brand new course for the first time, you want to look for the import existing content button. When you see that, you have the ability to choose from a bunch of options for importing content. The one that you're going to use when you're copying from a previous Canvas course that you taught is copy a Canvas course. Once you do that, Canvas is going to give you a whole list of courses based on semester that you've taught, and you simply look for the course. Let's do this. That you want to copy, and you simply find the semester that you want to copy, select it from the list. And then you have two options. Do you want to bring every piece of content over, or do you want to select specific? So maybe it makes sense to bring it all over and you just do all content, but maybe you just want the quizzes, or maybe you just want the module structure. You can do individual pieces of a course and not everything that existed. If you select all, go ahead.
Can you just do the files?
Yes, you can, and I'll show you that. So for example, I'm going to say select specific content, and then I'm going to click import. The next screen that appears will let me know that it's waiting for me to do something, and I need to click this select content button, and it gives you the areas that you can choose from. So here's files. So if I just want files, I simply select the checkbox next to files and hit select content. And at that point, it will only copy over the files from that previous course into this new course. So that's one way to get your course content up and ready if you taught previously in Canvas and have an existing course. If you have not taught previously and you're building this course from scratch, if this is a typical semester course, the first thing we recommend that you do is upload your syllabus. Get your syllabus in there for students to see. There is a syllabus tool, and you'll find that link in the course menu on the left-hand side of the screen. When I click syllabus, it takes me to that blank syllabus page. But anywhere that I have the ability to make changes in Canvas, I'm going to have an edit button. So you'll see that edit button throughout Canvas as you're working. And when you click edit, it takes you into this screen where I have access to what Canvas calls the rich content editor. Sometimes you'll see it shortened to RCE. Basically, the rich content editor is this text editor where you can enter text by typing. You can also copy and paste. So if you wanted to copy and paste the contents of your Word version of your syllabus right into this text area, you can do that. You also have the ability to format. So the content editor looks kind of like what you would see if you're working in a Word document, where you can change font size, style, color, all of the different options that are available to you. What I can also do is link to a document. So if instead of copying and pasting the contents of your syllabus in, if you wanted to link to that syllabus in its format, you can say, click here to access the fall, we're spring right now, spring 2022 syllabus. And in Canvas, this is what I want to become the link to my syllabus. I just want to highlight that. And then I want to look in my options because I want to upload a document. And I can click here and I can browse. And if that's my syllabus, I can open that and say submit. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, submit. Then the last step. Okay. The last step would be to save, and that's update syllabus. So I can either enter text directly, I can copy and paste text from an existing document, or I can link to the document itself by uploading it to Canvas and including a link here. The other part of the syllabus that you see is this course summary. It's blank right now, but what happens is as you create assignments and associate due dates with those assignments, Canvas will automatically add those assignments and their due dates to this course summary so that students have multiple ways to get to those assignments and multiple ways to be reminded about those upcoming things. If you would prefer that course summary not be displayed, if we click this edit button again, there's a little checkbox that says show course summary. If I turn that checkbox off and update the syllabus, that summary is no longer displayed. So whether or not you give students access to that link list of due dates, and those links are clickable. So if they click those links, it will take them to the individual assignments or discussions or quizzes. Whether or not that's displayed to students is up to you. Any questions about that? Okay, So we're going to head over to modules next. So after you've added your syllabus, kind of the next step is probably adding content. What is it that you want to share with students? It could be lecture slides that you're going to be reviewing during class. It could be articles that you want them to review and read. It could be links to websites or resources that you want them to visit in preparation for a class. So this modules area is going to give you a place where you can group those materials. If you're going to do assignments as well, this is also a way that you can organize and group and keep those things together. And so adding a module is simply clicking the add module button and giving it a name. So this could be week 1, it could be chapter 1. You could also use modules to organize things by type. So if you want to have a module called assignments and a module called lecture notes and a module called project, so that they know where they can find all of the different resources for that, you can do that as well. I can create as many modules as I need by clicking that button and adding as many modules as I need. And you'll notice that as the modules are added to the page, for each module, I have the ability to add files and content to those modules. So if for week 1, there's an article I need them to read, and there's a site I need them to visit, and then there's an assignment I want them to complete, I can organize and add all of those items directly to this week 1 module so that students have one place to go to locate those materials and not have to say, on the assignments page, which one is for week 1? In the files area, which article am I supposed to be reading? It's contained and organized in one space here in the modules area for them. So to add content to week 1, I can use the plus button that you see at the top right corner of the module. And when I do that, I have the option to add the different content types. You can create an assignment. You can create a quiz, you can add a file. You can even create what Canvas calls a page. That's content that you build on the fly in Canvas and that you can edit in Canvas. You can add a discussion. You can add a link to, this is what external URL is. So if there's a website you're sending them to, you're using external URL. And if you happen to be using a publisher resource, so you're integrated for use with a McGraw-Hill publisher resource, you can also use an external tool to link to some of those assignments that you may have created on the McGraw-Hill side of things or the publisher side of things. I'm going to select file for now. And any file that you've already got in your files area will automatically appear. So if I wanted to add one of these files to this module, I simply click on the file in the list, look for my add item button and click add. And immediately a link to that document or to that file appears. I can also upload. So if none of the files listed are what I need, I can click create file, and then I can browse to my computer and select the file that I want to add. Okay. Questions while we're waiting for that too. Okay. So adding content is simply a matter of clicking that plus sign, deciding what kind of content you're adding. So maybe now I'm going to add a homework assignment. So this will just be called homework 1 and clicking add. So very quickly, you can build the basic structure of your course. Now, of course, we didn't add the details we needed to the homework yet, like the due date or instructions or how much it's worth, but I have the building block in place. I can go back at a later date to fill in that information. So again, we're working in modules. It allows you to organize your content that you want to share with your students. It allows you to organize it in one place in whatever system works, whether that's by week, by chapter, by topic, or if you're organizing like items together, however it works for your course, you can build a module structure to do that. Once you've got your modules in place, you simply start adding the items to them. The last thing I want to mention is you'll notice there's a circle with a line through it to the right of each of those modules. That circle indicates that this module is not yet published. And in Canvas, if you remember, if something is not published, it's not visible to students. So the last step when you're creating content and you're using modules to do that is to make sure you publish your module when you're ready for students to have access to it. And you can publish by clicking that circle. When I click the circle, it switches from the gray circle with line through it to the green circle with the check. And as soon as you see that icon, you know that that content is now available and visible to students from the module page. So for example, you'll notice there's a student view button at the top right of my screen. If I switch to student view right now, what should happen is I should be able to see week 1 and the content in it, but I should not see this week 2 module because it's still unpublished. So if I click student view, that's exactly what happens. So you can test to make sure that what you think is visible to students is actually visible by using that student view option. So again, I'm going to leave student view. It takes me back in as instructor where I have the ability to make changes. Any questions about modules? There are some settings that we're not going over, but I just want to make sure you're aware of what can be added and what it can be used for, and just to remember to publish so that students have access. Okay. So we're going to head over to assignment. So you'll notice that I created this assignment here in modules, but I didn't add the details to it like it needs, right? So in Canvas, I can either head over to the assignments page to access that assignment I created. So you'll see that that assignment I created in modules automatically appears in my assignments area. And if I click on that title, there's that edit button that I want to look for. Anytime I want to make changes to something, I want to look for that edit button. So I've clicked that edit button. Here's where you can provide the extra details that students need. So those instructions that you want to provide for what it is that they're supposed to be doing, they're going to go in the text window at the top. And then the details. How many points is this assignment worth? Should they see this as a complete, incomplete? Are they getting a letter grade instead? Is this something that I'm not going to grade at all? You decide that and you choose that from the display grade as. Submission type. If you're teaching a face-to-face course, this is something they're doing in class. They're not turning in anything to you. It can be set up as a no submission or an on-paper submission. But if this is something where you want them to be able to submit in Canvas, you want to select online. Once you select online, the most common option is file upload. Some instructors also choose text entry. Text entry is good for, like, if you're asking them to do things like journal entries really quickly and easily. It allows them to type directly into the window in Canvas. If you're asking for video submissions, maybe this is an assignment where you're asking them to record video, to talk about something instead of writing about something, you want to use text entry as well, because that gives you access to the Kaltura integration that students can use to do that recording. After you've decided how they're going to submit and what format you want them to submit in, you need to determine how many attempts they should be allowed. Default in Canvas is they have unlimited number of attempts.
Really, can we go back for a second
Sure.
to the online? And you said do the text entry to give them access to the Kaltura.
Mhm.
Why not video? Why not media recordings?
So media recordings allows them to use the native Canvas recording.
Mhm.
This contributes to quota. And so when students are recording here, it's not being saved to the cloud. It eats up some of the storage space. It's just clunkier. It doesn't have as much flexibility as Kaltura has. And so we prefer that instead of using the media recording option that's built into Canvas, that you do use text entry so that you can use the Kaltura integration instead, because there are just some extra tools that are available to them via Kaltura. Okay. So under attempts, if you wanted to kind of restrict their ability to submit, you choose limited instead of unlimited, and then you can tell Canvas how many attempts they should have. So again, that's all in the control of the instructor. If you leave that set to unlimited, Canvas will date and timestamp every submission that's been uploaded by a student. So you do have the ability to see when and on what day and at what time a student submitted to the assignment. If you're interested in plagiarism detection, we are integrated for use with Turnitin. So if you wanted this particular assignment to be run through the Turnitin tool, you would simply choose Turnitin from the plagiarism review dropdown, and it brings up the settings for Turnitin that you can choose from. If you're not interested in having it run through Turnitin, you just simply leave that set to none. Okay, we won't cover group assignment or peer reviews. The last set of options are just who gets access and when is it due. This is how I build that course summary that appears at the bottom of my syllabus. So if I want students to be notified and reminded about assignments, then I want to set a due date. And once that due date is set, it is automatically added to their calendar. It automatically triggers a notification that will appear in their to-do list as a reminder that this work is due. And when you're finished adding your details to the assignments, you just click save. And I'll head back to my assignments page. And you'll see that the assignments page looks very similar to the modules page. Same add button here at the top. So again, you can build out all of the assignments that you're going to need your students to submit right from the assignments page as well, just by using the add assignment button. Any questions about this assignments page? Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is actually this course navigation, this menu here on the left-hand side of the screen. So what you see when you're looking at my screen, you'll see some of these links have this little eye icon with the line through it. What that's letting me know is that students cannot see that particular link. So if a student was logged into my course right now, the announcements link would not show up, the pages link does not show up, the quizzes link does not show up. As the instructor, you can control what links are visible to students and what links are not. And we do that by using the settings option. So all the way down at the very bottom of this menu is the word settings. When you click settings, it takes you in to the screen. And the tab that we use to modify the menu is called the navigation tab. So when I click this tab, navigation, you'll see that I have kind of two lists. There's a list here at the top, and then there's a list here at the bottom. Anything in this list at the bottom is hidden from student view. Anything that's in this list at the top will display to students automatically as long as there's content associated with it. So you'll notice announcements should be visible, but the eye icon is still displayed. That just means I have not created any announcements yet. So as soon as I create and post an announcement, the eye disappears and the link becomes visible to students. But for something like Zoom, it's not visible to them at all because it's completely hidden in the course. If I want to make a link visible, I simply either click these three dots and enable, because you'll notice as I click those three dots, this menu pops up. I can enable this link, or I can just click on it, hold, and drag it up and put it where I want it to be in the list at the top. So my recommendation is always at the start of the semester, if you know that this course is simply going to be used to share your syllabus, maybe some announcements, hide all these other links. If students don't need to access discussions, if they don't need to get to assignments, go ahead and hide it. And it's so easy to hide. You just drag it down, or again, you click the link and you say disable. The one thing you have to remember, and this is kind of one of the only places in Canvas where you have to do this, if you make changes, you need to remember to scroll down and hit save, or Canvas will completely ignore all of the enabling and disabling that you've done. So remember to come down, click that save button. And once you do that, any changes that you made are automatically reflected, and you can see that I hid assignments and I hid files. So now they're appearing down at the bottom with that eye icon through it. So again, you can customize what links are available to students. You can also customize the order in which they appear. If you want your syllabus to be listed first, then you want modules there, you can put them in that order if that's the order you want them to appear. Again, just remember to scroll down and hit save. Okay. Some other things that you might want to change. So again, we're still in settings, but instead of navigation, now we're on this first tab, which is course details. Some of this stuff doesn't change, like the course name that comes from Banner, that's not going to change. Time zone is set to what you set it to in settings. Things like sub account and term, that's not going to change, but there are some things that can change. So if I click more options, you can control whether your announcements are displayed at the top of your homepage. And if you choose to do that, how many announcements should be displayed at any given time. If you're using the discussions tool, you can choose whether to allow students to be able to attach files or create their own, or whether or not they should be able to edit or delete. If you are using discussions for a grade, I suggest turning that one off. Because if we're getting credit for the contributions we're adding to discussions, we don't want them to be able to change it while you're in the middle of grading. So you don't want what you saw yesterday to change by the time you go to grade it. When you're finished making changes, you simply say update course details. And again, we got here by going to the very last link in your course menu, which was settings. Okay. Go ahead home. So once you've added your syllabus, once you've added content and modules, you might have created some assignments, you've modified your course menu. The next thing you might want to do is choose your homepage. So the default homepage for Canvas courses is set to modules. If you have not added content to modules, Canvas won't let you publish the course. So you may want to choose a different homepage so that it allows you to publish before you've added content. And you can choose a different homepage by clicking that choose homepage button. And you'll see the 5 options that are available to you. The default is that it will be set to modules, but you can also choose for it to be a syllabus. You could also build what we call like a pretty homepage. Maybe you want to put up a picture with a description of the course with some contact information. And you can do that by building a page in Canvas first, setting it as the front page, and then you would be able to choose that page's front page option. The one option I generally don't recommend is course activity stream because it doesn't provide a lot of information. It just gives students like new assignment, new this, new that. There's no context with that information, so it's not very helpful. So I usually recommend that you choose either syllabus, course modules, pages front page, or even the assignments. If you want students to come in and have access to that, a list of assignments every time they enter your course, you can do that. Once you've chosen the homepage you want to set, you simply click save. Again, you'll notice that there's a student view button at the top right of my screen. on any page that students can access in your course, you'll have access to this student view. So if you want to check at any time as you're working in Canvas and building your course, what it looks like from the student perspective, you can always click that button. As soon as you see that hot pink bar at the bottom of your screen, you know that you're in student view. You'll also notice that the menu adjusts to display as it would for a student. You can actually click and open files if you set up assignments and the due dates allow access. You can even go in and submit an assignment from the student perspective to test and make sure that everything's working properly. To leave student view, we simply leave student view. And then the last step, we talked about it kind of at the beginning, is publishing. When your course is published, you'll see this course status at the top right of the screen. And when that button is green, you know your course is published and it's available to users. If instead what you see is this unpublished button and it's red, you know that this course is only visible to you. So you want to always make sure once you've got everything up and in place and you're ready to make it available to students, that you remember to click this button. Sometimes it's kind of misleading because it almost looks like it is published because that check mark is next to it. But if the button is still gray and not green, it means that it's not published. And all I have to do is hit that publish button and make it available. Canvas will allow you to publish and unpublish as often as you need until students have submitted assignments in the course. Once an assignment has been submitted by at least one student, Canvas will not allow you to unpublish a course anymore.
So even if it's a course for a semester that has passed?
Yes, the course, you're not able to make it. So once that
Okay.
course has passed, that semester has passed, it becomes considered past enrollment and you don't have the ability to change the course status for those courses.
Okay.
So they're still published, but they become read-only. So students are no longer able to submit or do anything in that course. They can basically just view what you've posted and what's been posted for them. Any other questions?
Not about anything that you've covered so far, but will you cover outcomes, rubrics, and collaborations? Is that something that we're going to cover today?
It's not, but I can talk about it really quickly. So
Okay.
I can kind of do like bonus topics, right? So I won't cover outcomes. That's something I would say come to drop-ins if you want to talk about outcomes. But in terms of communicating in Canvas, so there are tools that you can use to communicate in Canvas or to allow students to communicate and collaborate, and collaborations is one of them. And so when you're looking at collaborations, what it allows us to do is it's tied to our Writer Google accounts. And so what it allows us to do is if I start a new collaboration, and I'm gonna wait patiently. Oh, come on. And I'm not getting it to respond to me right now. So what it allows you to do is it's integrated for use with your Writer Google Apps for Education access, right? And so what should happen when I say start a new collaboration is I should get a drop down that allows me to choose whether I want to create a new Google Doc, a new Google Sheet, or a new Google Slide. And when I create that doc, sheet, or slide, I can then choose to make it available to the whole class, or I could make it available to a subset of the class, or if I've created groups, I can assign groups to those things. So if you have students who are working on maybe a group project and it's a presentation they've got to put together, you can create a collaboration, specify that it should use slides, and then you could assign it to the individual groups. And so it will then create that Google slide deck that allows them all access to it, all from within Canvas. So you're able to see that shared document that they're preparing. They're able to see that shared document that they're preparing. And it's all integrated. The only thing it is not integrated with is the grade book. So if you're looking to grade this kind of group work that they're doing together, we would need to create an assignment where they could submit the final version of this collaboration so that you can give them a grade. Announcements is another way to communicate with students in Canvas. What it allows you to do is post a message that is seen by everybody at once. So you're not sending individual emails to everybody. Okay. And so this is just a way to communicate very quickly with your whole class. What's nice about announcements, I can attach files. So if I need to share something really quickly with them, I can attach a file to this announcement. I can even delay a posting. And where this is helpful is if you know that there's an announcement about the midterm or about a project, and you're creating that on Sunday, but you don't want them to see it till Wednesday, I can create it now and say, don't post this until Friday. And so it kind of allows you the flexibility of building out this communication, so that it will post later for students. You can choose to allow students to comment, which would allow them to ask questions, post questions related to this announcement. Or if you simply want this to be for informational read-only purposes, you can leave that off so that they're only able to view the announcement, not necessarily ask questions based on it. Once I save the announcement, it's added to Canvas. It will show up in the announcements area. A notification is triggered, which also sends that announcement to their writer email address. So it kind of double whams them. So if they're in Canvas, they can see it, but they'll also get the email notification about the announcement as well. Okay.
So back to collaborations, you mentioned Google Docs and it said Google Docs is an option. Are
Yes.
they allowed to collaborate with the Microsoft Office tools?
We do not have that integration up in place. So there is an Office 365 integration. We don't have it in place here at Ryder. Okay. Other questions? Because we've got about 5 minutes left. I know you have a question, Pauline, about ePortfolio. Talk to me a little bit about what it is you want to use the ePortfolio for.
So there are key assignments that I want the students to either, and we're talking about teacher candidates, I want them to either upload them into ePortfolio or EdTPA, but I just want them to upload there are 2 assignments that are going to be mapped to education standards, CAPE standards, and I want them uploaded in ePortfolio. And associated with like specific standards and specific outcomes, that this assignment is mapped to this outcome that's also mapped to CAPE standards.
So the outcomes could be built in your course using the outcomes tool, and it could then be mapped to an individual assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Where it breaks is there's no way to connect what's in the ePortfolio to that assignment. So they would, it would almost be like they'd have to have it in ePortfolio and then they'd have to submit it to the assignment so that it could be mapped to the outcome. Do they not use, what is it that they use in the ed department for the ePortfolio purposes?
I'll have to ask. I'm going to email.
There is a product, is it Live Text?
live text would work, and maybe is it either that or TalkWire or Ed TPA?
I want to say that the ed department has licensing for live text, and I want to say that they are using that for that kind of e-portfolio purpose, because I have, now we don't support live text. I know there's somebody in the ed department who was kind of like the support person on our side at Ryder for live text that kind of works with the live text folks, but I know that they do use that for that purpose. So I would say, I don't know who.
I
Well,
will
let me go
ask.
through my email to see who my contact is that I know has asked us to help her set up stuff with live text and Canvas, to let you know who to reach out to, because
Okay.
is it Kaplinger? I want to say
Mm,
maybe it's Nikki Kaplinger or Alexa Kaplinger, but let me check my email and let you know who she, because she might be able to let you know that that tool, yes, it's available. Here's what you have to do to set it up. And I know that they
Okay.
use it kind of for that purpose, the e-portfolio purpose.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I am going to stop my share and I'm going to stop the recording. Haha, I'm so glad.